Hi, guys. Today, I want to talk about signs of a victim mentality, signs that you may be living in victim mentality. So many of us have this, live in the victim mentality, and we don't even realize, a lot of us don't even realize that we're doing it. Um, we don't consciously kind of go around and admit that we're living in this negative mentality where we're stuck in our past or we're stuck in whatever it is that we feel a victim about. We don't really go around advertising that. And so it can be kind of a subconscious thing that we don't realize we're even doing. And some people actually enjoy living in this victim mentality state. And it's really just not a productive way to think. It's hard to move forward. It's hard to live in your present. It's hard to move forward with your goals when you're stuck on living in the past. So just an introduction, my name, for those of you who don't know me, my name is DeLorean and I'm an anxiety coach. I help stressed out people gain control of their thoughts so that they can live happier, calmer lives. That's something we all want, right? So what is the victim mentality? The victim mentality is a belief pattern or like a mental habit that we have created where we believe that bad things happen to us, and that other people and other circumstances are what's to blame. So, and one of the things to note here too is that we really believe, people who live in the victim mentality, we believe that any effort that we try to do to change our lives will fail because of our crappy card that we were dealt in our past. So for years, I lived in the victim mentality. Now, I actually didn't even realize that I was. Now that I look back on my life, I want to say I lived in the victim mentality for about 10 years, which is a really long time to live in that negative, stuck state of a mentality. Um, and I can remember I complained a lot about my circumstances. I blamed my circumstances for most things. I was in if you've read my blog, soberjasmine.com, I was in a mentally abusive relationship for 6 years and in my 20s. And I can remember blaming that person and blaming my situation for the way that I am once I escaped, I guess, from my relationship. And I blamed a lot of things on my anxiety, which is ironic because anxiety and victim mentality kind of go hand in hand. But um, I would say things like, well, my anxiety, this is just the way that I am, and there's nothing that I can do about it. I was super negative, and I felt like I was owed something from the world. Um, so people in the victim mentality tend to have a villain of their story, which is understandable. If you feel like something has happened to you, then there has to be somebody who did whatever that is to you. So that could be, if you're going back to your childhood, there could be an abusive parent, or if you're thinking about, in the workplace, you could have a crappy boss who's an asshole, and maybe you're blaming that boss for, not getting that promotion or whatever. And like I said, a lot of people reference their childhood. When they justify their victim mentality, they reference the way they were brought up, or things that may have happened to them in their past during their childhood. But the problem with having this victim mentality is that looking at someone or some circumstance and treating that as the villain, that's giving away all of your power. And what I mean by that is you're allowing that villain, I guess you could call it, to control your thoughts right now. So if you think about that for a minute, you're allowing something that happened in your past, and who knows, for a lot of us, our childhood was a long time ago. You're allowing something that happened in your childhood, or that villain, or whatever that issue was, to continue to control your thoughts and your emotions now. So if you think about that, that can be really powerful to realize that you're letting something control your thoughts years later. So let's get into it. Let's get into the signs of a victim mentality, because again, a lot of us don't even realize that we're doing it. So number one, I would say one of the signs is that life is not something that you have created yourself. People in the victim mentality don't feel like that life was something that they created. They feel like something has happened to you. Life has happened to you. You feel the lack of power to change your life. You feel like you've been dealt a card hand, and this is all that you've been dealt, and there's nothing that you can do about it. You may say things like, why did they do this to me? Why is this happening to me? Again, you feel like everything is against you. You can almost feel like, the world is against you. Another sign that you may be living in the victim mentality is that most times that you open your mouth, you say something along the lines of, woe is me. You may want to, or even enjoy, when people feel sorry for you. You may feel hopeless. Again, that goes back to feeling like there's no way that you can change because this is just the way life is and this is what was handed to you. So you definitely could feel hopeless if you live in the victim mentality. Another sign that you may be living in the victim mentality is that you are not very resilient. It can be extremely hard for you to bounce back after a trip up or after a mistake. And you'd much rather just wallow in self-pity. Now, wallowing in self-pity is easy. And a lot of us like to take the easy route. It's easy to sit and just feel sad and wallow and make people feel sorry for us, versus the other route, which would be to jump back up and keep trying and keep moving forward, doing all the hard things. Another sign could be that and this is a big one, that you almost never take the blame for anything. You blame others, you blame life, you blame your circumstance, you blame God, you blame the universe, you blame the world, whatever you believe in. You blame your luck. You could say things like, I just have bad luck, but you never blame yourself for anything. You never really want to take responsibility for any mistakes that you could have made. It's always someone else's fault. It's always some other circumstance's fault. It's some other situation. It's that thing's fault. It's never your own fault. Sometimes you could feel like people are just out to get you, or the world is just out to get you, or people just don't like you. And when kind of called out on that, you don't really see it as blaming. You instead see it as like, this is your explanation of why you're miserable and why it's someone else's fault. So that could be like, well, this is how I grew up this way, or, how your spouse treats you, or if your boss was an asshole. You don't take responsibility or blame for any of that. You feel like it's just an explanation of why you're miserable. Another sign of that you live in the victim mentality is that you get defensive when you're called out on this blame game, and you feel the need that you feel like you need to explain yourself. So you say things like, well, you don't know my life, or you don't know what I've been through, or, my situation is different. You don't know how I feel, or you haven't been where I was. You didn't grow up with my parents, or whatever. So you start to get that defensive mode. So that could be a sign that you're living in the victim mentality when somebody kind of calls you out on that. Another huge one, and this was a big one for me when I was in the victim mentality, is that you complain a lot and you're very, very negative. So when people ask, for example, like, hey, how are you doing today? You kind of automatically go into this talk about your negative life and what's happening, and, oh, I feel sick about this, or I can't believe this is happening to me, things like that. You start to get really negative and you kind of go into that spiraling, downward spiral of complaining really about everything in life. People in the victim mentality could be quietly angry, I guess you could call it, most of the time. You feel angry about something, and if there's something that's not typically worth being angry over, you'll kind of fabricate a situation to be angry over. It's like you feel almost just angry about life. And this could be like totally subconscious. You're not just kind of sitting around grumpy and mad, but like if somebody starts kind of talking to you, you feel, just like I said, like just angry with life and angry that things are happening to you. So there's that too. Again, you feel like things are happening to you and everything is just out to get you. And my last sign, and this is a big one, is that you are selfish. You kind of, like I said, you feel like the world owes you something, or the world has hurt you, so it must pay, or you kind of take all and leave none for anyone else because you deserve this. You feel like, well, I deserve this, so I'm not, I'm going to take all that I can because I deserve this, because again, the world owes you. So those are my signs that you may live in the victim mentality. Leave a comment below and let me know if you know, any of those resonated with you. Do you feel that you live in the victim mentality? Um, is this something that you didn't even realize you were doing? And you know, and now that you've listened to this, you actually are living in the victim mentality. Leave a comment and let me know. I'm curious how many other people were like me and didn't even realize that they were doing it. So I have one last thing for you. If you're ready to start taking control of your thoughts and stop allowing anxiety keep you in that anxious loop, I've created a 15-page overcoming anxiety kickstart guide and workbook that you can print out and work through. And like I have mentioned before, that you do have control over where you let your thoughts lead you. So how you let your emotions, you know, how you let your thoughts control your emotions. So going through this workbook, I was super excited to finally finish it. I just finished it last week, and I was really excited to send it to all of my email subscribers. So download the workbook. My email address is at the end of the workbook, and just send me an email and let me know how it goes for you. And I'll leave the link for the workbook below. Okay, guys, that's all I have for you today. I guess I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.